Hello guys, let me know how my microphone is like so that we may continue. Give me just 1 second. I forgot to get something ready. Here we go. Oh, people are cringing for the past hour. I'm not the only one. I saw mixed opinions, to be honest. Let me show my pretty face. Let me just see if I can show my pretty face. I saw people that are happy with the ending. Surprisingly, Arch Warhammer. Alright, I'm going to publicly shame you, Arch. Okay, people go on his Twitter to my friend Arch Warhammer and tell him he is wrong. Tell him he is wrong. He apparently has decided to enjoy the last episode, which, in my opinion, is a slap in the face of everyone who was watching for 8 years. Now, when I started playing, there was this gentleman on Steam. You know, people who donate to my Patreon around $50. I give them my Steam account, so, you know, we can play some games and stuff. And this guy, all of a sudden, he doesn't talk to me, but he tells me this is an abysmal episode. This is the worst episode yet. You're going to go so pissed off when you see it. And I'm like, wow, does Arya kill the Night King? Yeah, no, like it was so easy to predict, and in fact, I called it for the last season. Like, I kept saying it as a joke when I saw how strong Arya is. Like, she managed to defeat Brienne the Tarf, and Brienne the Tarf is actually, you know, story-wise, one of the strongest fighters in Westeros, if not the strongest. Brienne managed to beat Jaime. She managed to defeat the Hound. So technically, she's like the champion. Maybe Jon Snow might be more powerful than Brienne the Tarf, right? But then Arya fights her, and Arya wins, and they also give her like this dagger of bullshittery. And I'm like, oh, look, Arya is now so strong that she's going to defeat the Night King on a one-on-one battle. Yeah, nothing personal, Night King. Exactly. My God, that was just. But I wanna show you why this is bad, right? Like, before we get into it, I know a lot of people think that I talk about social justice this and social justice that. I will show you why they can't write good movies or good TV show or good video games, and you'll see for yourself, right? Because it's not just me. Because you have like night and day comparison. You have George R.R. Martin, who writes the books, and R.R. Martin is a good writer. The way he writes the books is that characters react to the story elements, right? There are things going on, there are things in motions, and character act as if there was a real person in that particular situation. And he doesn't try to lift some characters up over others. Or if he does it so subtly that you don't notice. And some characters, you know, they come up on top. Some characters come up on the bottom. For example, you know, Ed Stark trying to be this bastion of morality and goodness in a world that was very harsh, medieval, with people plotting and scheming. Then you end up with Ed Stark being decapitated, right? So it's not like one of those stories where the good guys are being hyped up. No. But if you look at how the show writers do it, and if you haven't read the books, you can notice the difference between the first episodes with the difference from the last episodes. The show writers, they have a feminist agenda, right? They said it openly, like it's not me saying it. They come up and they said it that they want the feminist show. And this happened after a lot of activists complain about the rape scenes in the game, in the Game of Thrones. So in the beginning, you had, you know, a lot of sex, a lot of boobies, a lot of titties. You had morally ambiguous characters. For example, the witch Mazir. What was the blood witch? The one that kills the Daenerys' husband. I think like her name was Maziri. She's actually a good character if you think about it, right? Because Daenerys was supposed to give birth to the horsemen that rise the world. Basically, like, get the Dothraki, which were a bunch of murderous, rapists, pillaging tribe of migratory people to get them to go into Westeros to rape, murder, and pillage and conquer Westeros, right? Like they're not a positive force, all right? Like the Dothraki are not these positive minority people of color that are all nice and they want to shake hands. No, they want to rape and pillage. Okay, that's what they do. In other words, in the first episode, you notice that Daenerys is horrified by the Dothraki culture. And when the feminists come in, you notice that the Dothraki get castrated. They're not into raping and pillaging. They become very civilized, very docile. They're acting like bodyguards that are sitting there and they're just being nice, smiling for the camera, doing anything that Daenerys says, not complaining, not having any more honor culture. They don't really have this, code of ethics. Like for example, in the first episode, when the Dothraki are told that they can't rape and pillage because Daenerys says so, they freak out. And one of them actually challenges the Khal Drogo. He challenges him to a death match, right? Because it's like, what do you mean we can't rape and pillage? So you see that they have a very strong sense of identity. They have like a very strong sense of self. They have like their own moral codes that even the Khal Drogo can't just say, no, you're not allowed to do this. And once the social justice comes in, they're robbed of their identity. There is nothing that makes the Dothraki. They're just, like normal people from the 2019 current year, and they're just there to do Daenerys' bidding. So I want to show you something else, which is annoying, right? This is an article from Vox, and they say, Daenerys embarks on an archetypical hero's journey with a twist. Instead of learning to humble herself as heroes usually do, Dany has to learn to assert herself in a universe dominated by men. And this is a lie because, the universe used to be dominated by men. What attracted me to Game of Thrones was this very rough, very dark universe. And the darkness in the Game of Thrones was really cool because it reflected medieval times. Like, I would look at that universe and I would say, my God, it must have been so awful to live in those times. It was so bad. But then the feminists came, and what we see is that the show from the TV show is not like the one from the books. You have women everywhere, all right? Like, you have the Queen of Thorns, you have the Sand bitches, right? What were they? The Sand princesses that are ruling Dorne. You have the Queen of Thorns that's ruling her side of Westeros. You have Queen Cersei that is ruling what's it called? The King's Landing. I don't even know if she got control of the Lannister forces, and if she does, how on earth she does it. Doesn't even matter. You got Sansa Stark that's running Winterfell, and you got Daenerys. You got 5 women that are running the kingdoms. Like, how can you say that this is a world led by men anymore? Right? Like, this world has been co-opted by other writers, and they have made every single part of the kingdom be ruled by women. And here's the thing, like, George R.R. Martin used to do the same, right? Like, he had strong women characters. Cersei, in the books, she is still a powerful political monster, but she plays it from the shadows. She has men that do her bidding. That she uses her vagina in order to get men to do what she wants. It's the same with other women. But you also have Daenerys. And Daenerys, in the books, isn't built up to be this force of good. She's not built up to be this Jesus that comes and saves Westeros and breaks the wheel, rah, rah, rah. No, she actually might be an insane person. We don't know. Like, she comes to Westeros to bring war. She doesn't come to Westeros to bring peace. And we notice that a strong theme in George's books is that war is horrible. No one wins in a war. Everyone loses. People die. And Daenerys has these prone things in the books that she doesn't have in the movies of excessive violence. She enjoys sometimes torturing people and stuff. It's very complicated. But anyway, right, let's go to the actual episode and tell you why I hate it. But what I want you to get from this is that the left ideology, they live always in the past. Like when they do changes to society, they do not accept the changes that they did. So in this Vox article, when it says that's a universe dominated by men, it's like, I'm sorry, but it hasn't been this for 4 seasons now. Ever since they moved away from the books, this universe has not been dominated by men at all. Let me go through some super chat. Nothing personal, Night King by Dobson Tripsky. Arya for the win, Jesse Jennings. If you haven't given me money, I would have said something nasty about you right now. I was so mad, V. Arya is so goddamn annoying. It's not that Arya kills it. I'll just mention why I'm upset when we go to that. Hey V, I finished episode 3 literally 5 minutes ago and I was disappointed. Years of building up the Night King, killing him off by a strong woman. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? So we're going to watch Game of Thrones season 8 inside the episode, and I want you guys to tell me how the audio is like for this, and then we're going to watch it.
I know. Whoa. We've been building.
Alright, so tell me if you can hear that, and then we're just going to watch the video. Man, I never get disappointed about TV shows, right? So this is the first time, and I think the reason I'm really disappointed by it is simply because I've been invested in this for 7 years, you know? Like, I genuinely wanted to find out these things. Like, I was hyped up, and it was like a One Punch Man episode. We're going to go into that, right? So let's go from the start.
I know. Whoa. We've been building toward.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I want to talk about. All the women in the last episode, and a little bit in this episode, all the women have the exact same character. Like, you can replace Sansa Stark with anyone else and you won't tell the difference. The character of all the women are strong women. So what I mean by this, while the men are scared, while the men are terrified because they're going to fight the undead, and you have men that are drinking, you have men like Sam that are shaking, and you know, they're showing real emotion. They're showing actual human emotion. All the women are just so confident, and it's almost like it's another day on the beach for them. And this destroys immersion, because I'm thinking, hell, if I was there, I would have been quaking as well. You know, like, the men are relatable. You can relate to their feelings, right? And not to mention, when a character acts scared, when a character acts that they're uncomfortable, it makes the viewer feel uncomfortable because you're trying to get immersion out of it. You're trying to feel, okay, how it would be if I was there. I can't get immersion seeing Daenerys and Sansa have a friendly chat with Daenerys putting her hand over Sansa's hands and they're like besties forever while the undead are coming. You know, it's just whatever. That's just one of my complaints. But let's listen to this guy.
Towards this for so long now. You think back to the very
you asshole. You spin the knife, I want you. You know, pull the knife out and pour some salt over the wound as well. Yeah, take some salt from me right now, because I'm very salty about this. Yes, after all the flavors in the world, I choose to be use my salt to put it in the wound. It's like, oh, we've had all this buildup, it goes to this. Look what we have done. You subverted your expectations. Yeah, subverting your expectations should translate into disappointment, because that's what it really is. Subverting someone's expectation is disappointment.
Beginning of the very first episode, and it's beyond the wall where the White Walkers are stalking a group of rangers. So this is the culmination of one of the keys.
Why were the White Walkers stalking behind the wall? What did they want? Who are they? We don't know, and we're never going to know, are we? No, we're not. That's a dead plot line, isn't it? We just have to move the story along. We just have to go to the next phase because, you know, the White Walkers were an inconvenience, I suppose.
Storylines in the whole show. And this is for everything. We've been talking for a long time how the Night King's forces have been growing in power and most of the living have been kind of openly disdainful of the threat, and now there's no choice but to fight it.
Yeah. A long time, 8 years of build-up. Here's the thing. The reason One Punch Man gets away with it is that it's a parody, all right? Like, all of these shows, and it's not just shows, it's every storytelling. needs to have a conflict. You can't just like build up this villain and one punch him. It's very unsatisfying to watch. It's very unsatisfying for the listener, for the viewer, for the player, whatever medium you go with. Very unsatisfying. It's like, hey, look, this evil villain. Hero comes in, one punch, and it's like, you know, like there's no build, there's no climax. It's just okay. So it works for One Punch Man because it's a parody. It's supposed to be a parody of anime. It's supposed to be a parody of all these things. But no, like you got like this, and they're unironically doing it. They've built up a character for 8 years, and just gets killed in one punch. It's like, what? Yeah, I need to take the entertainment black.
I really love the way the first 10 minutes or so plays out because there's so much tension before there's any encounter with the enemy.
Look at this! Look at this shit! Why is this 7-year-old girl there? Why? She wouldn't be in the books. Like, here's the thing. Let's actually go to her story arc.
You know, as much as they try to conceal it, people are
like, people know how to do their shit, little girl. Why are you there? They have officers, they have generals, they have other people. They know how to do their job. You're just there to tell them, oh, pick up the log. Oh, you, man the walls. Like, they know to man the walls.
terrified because this is death coming for them. You know, so much of it is just kind of, on one hand, setting the mood for the episode, and the other hand, showing us where these characters are going to be.
The entire episode takes place in Winterfell.
It's literally what someone said in the comment section. It's anime in real life. A lolly is leading the army. Literally what it is.
There are 20 characters all involved in a very chaotic situation that needs many, many locations.
Yeah, also, why was the situation chaotic? Like, the way I understand it, if it was an actual battle, you would have, all right, we're going to charge here, we're going to defend this position, if shit happens, we fall back to this position, and then we retreat here, and we make our final stand here. Like, that's how you... And that's how George R.R. Martin is going to write it in the books, by the way, because he actually reads a little bit of history, tries to make the story a little bit believable. But here, at one point in the episode, everyone was everywhere fighting with their little zombies here and there. No sign where the main battle is. By the looks of this episode, their entire army was decimated, but I showed the previews for the next episode and their army is still intact. I don't know, like, if I can't watch the episode and drag my own conclusions and understand what's going on, it's bad writing. There's no way around it.
Just to service it.
Because it's such a long battle in this episode, it's important that we feel the ebb and flow. And so,
what did the White Witch do? What did the Red Witch do? Nothing. She sparked some weapons, right? Like gave weapons some fire, and then she did something that a guy with a torch could have done. She contributed nothing. Nothing. Her entire character arc gone. Unbelievable, right? Like, apparently the Lord of Light had a mission for her, and she had to return in order to help the forces, blah, blah, blah. And while, okay, I guess lighting the palisades might have worked, even though it did nothing because they crossed the palisades anyway. If she wouldn't be in this episode, nothing would have changed.
so there are moments when you think things are going a little bit better for the living.
Tell them to lift their swords.
We felt like it was important to have that moment of hope when Mel comes in and lights up their ox, and they all ride off into battle.
Zobrieisa se signo tuledus.
Yeah, the house didn't appreciate the Zobrieisa. I love how none of them are scared. Like, if you watch season 1, there are people that are highly distrustful of magic. Okay, so the Dothraki are people entrenched in their tradition, which are insanely distrustive of magic. And none of them get scared, none of them throw away that shit. Everyone is calm, and, you know, like, what I'm trying to say here, right, is that is inconsistency in the writing. You as a writer can't establish that the world works in one way, and then later on, ignore what you said. For example, we know that Daenerys is immune to fire. If I see her getting burned in one episode, if next episode she touches a flame and goes like, yikes, how do we unpack this? I want to know why is it that she's now being burned? Either the fire is special, like maybe it's some form of sacred flame or something, or she has suffered some ailment that makes her now vulnerable to fire. You have to explain this, right? You can't just create a world and then the forces of that world that you created go against the way you describe them to be. So when you create a universe, you can say whatever you want. You can pull out anything out of your ass, but it has to be like a puzzle. When you put the next piece of the puzzle, it has to fit with everything else that you placed here. And this is just like a minor complaint, you know? It's just like a minor thing where I'm pointing at this and I don't understand. You know, it could have been that the weapons were on the ground and she just ignited them when the Dothraki didn't see it, and then the Dothraki picked them up. And none of them would be scared because it's magic, you know? But you're basically like, what would happen here if this was anything more realistic, and if it was in the books? The Dothraki would be demoralized by the magic. You would lower their morale. They would go into battle with low morale, and, you know, they would rout because they're really shaken by the fact that they have the magic thing in their hand.
We wanted our characters to feel like maybe this is all going to work out. Maybe things are all going to be okay.
We've seen how devastating a Dothraki charge can be just with their regular swords, and now when they're galloping into combat with flaming Arak.
Yeah, the flaming Arak bullshit, I didn't understand it. The way I understand it is that in order to kill undead, you need to either set them afire or you need to have dragon glass weapons. And as I understand, all of their Araks were made with dragon glass. So setting fire to the dragon glass is really redundant. In fact, it's actually dangerous because the Arak, being a short weapon, you're probably burning your hand from the fire. I never understood this, but I guess it looks cool, so it's fine in the show. Alright, yeah, or Valyrian steel, right? But they had dragon glass Araks, was no point in setting them afire. Well, whatever, you know, like, fine.
So what could possibly stand against
It
that?
doesn't come up with the morality or the sequence. So, this is the most stupid thing that I have ever seen. Why would you send your entire... First of all, why not just bombard the enemy location if you know where they are for a little while longer? Secondly, why would you charge your entire cavalry into the unknown? You don't know what the fuck is there. Could have been a trap. Could have been some spikes on the ground and no undead would have been lost. You know? They charge their entire cavalry against the undead. You know what? It looks cool. And I guess that's what they're going with. Looking cool. But that's not the books. That's not season 1. That's not season 2. That's not season 3. That's not season 4. The first seasons and the books were about immersion. About, you know, wow, so this is how people would act. If any of it, like, okay, if it would have made sense that they would stand behind the mountain or in the woods or whatever in ambush, and when the undead attacks the front lines and the undead are locked in combat with the front, they would have came from the flank and tried to clear out the undead, and it would have been even more interesting looking. It would have been even more cool to watch something like that. Would have also had something to do with the real strategy. You know, you could also have this scene where you just send a small cavalry regiment. You send just a couple of Dothraki. You don't send all of them. All of them they got sent.
What they see is just the end of the Dothraki, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, cavalry armed with short weapons.
They have a plan, and it's important to wait for the Night King to reveal himself and then have 2 dragons against 1 dragon and a really good chance of...
Yeah, no one... Another thing, right? If you want me to keep ranting on this, no one charges horses in the night. The horse, I know it sounds stupid, but it's not like in a video games where he's a mechanical object that does what the rider tells. If the horse doesn't see where the fuck is running, it's not going to run. Would you run in pitch black? Would you run in the darkness? Seriously, if you don't see what's in front of you, would you think it's a good idea to run? And we're not talking like running on a street or you know, some place where you have visibility. No. It's pitch blackness if you ever went into a rural village. And secondly, it's not like a street. There's things on the ground. There's rocks, there's pebbles, there's stone. You don't see what's in front of you. Horses are smart animals. They don't want to trip. Yes, a horse can trip and break its leg. It's not going to try to do that.
feeding him. One thing that they couldn't have foreseen was Dany's reaction to seeing the Dothraki decimated. Jon is the person who wants to stick to the plan, but the Dothraki aren't Jon's. They're not loyal to Jon, they're loyal to Dany. And I think that...
Well, to be honest, at least they got rid of the Dothraki, so I don't have a spasm at the end of the show, because, again, the Dothraki are supposed to rape, murder, and pillage. They're not civilized people, and they would have never been integrated into Westeros life. You would never get the Dothraki, here's some land, go sow and go have, a merry way. No, they would have caused problems in Westeros. Like the whole thing with the wildlings in the first season, they don't want to let the wildlings in because the wildlings don't assimilate, all right? When the Ice Nation is sending people, they're not sending their best. They're sending rapists and murderers and looters. And it's the same with the Dothraki, all right? When people send immigrants over the Dothraki Sea, they're not sending their best. That's an even big thing, not only in the books, but I saw it in the show, where they actually do discuss this with Dany, and they're like, how are you going to tame them? How are you going to, when you go to Westeros and you conquer everyone, and finally you sit on the Iron Throne, how are you going to domesticate these people? But no, apparently it's fine. Do you know how she domesticates them? She makes the showrunners be very progressive. And it's like, well, just because they're from a different culture doesn't mean they're going to be bad people.
Dany can't bring herself to just watch them die, and so the plan starts to fall.
And all I'm hearing is Dany this, Dany that, Dany. It's like, it's called A Song of Ice and Fire. It's not called A Song of Dany. I mean, the reason this was a good book is that it tells the story of the kingdom, right? It's not just the story of one character.
All apart the second she gets on
Dany will teach them
her dragon, so he does too.
Liberalisticism.
And then we take it from there.
Alright, now, I like these guys. These motherfuckers were actually respected in the books, in the show, just like in the books. Yeah, they're a high-trained military force that are incredibly disciplined. They've managed to survive Dothraki charges on their own. These guys are badass. I liked how they were portrayed. I'm not going to have a single word of complaint about them. The way they had the formations, the way they actually stood their ground, the way they covered the retreat, that's very historically accurate. I had immersion, had a great time watching these guys fight.
We knew this episode
also, look what happens when you actually have formations. Compare this to the Battle of the Bastards, where it was chaotic. Like here, everything is organized. Everyone knows where they're standing. It's not as chaotic anymore. People can have their morale intact because they know what they need to do. Everyone has a job to do. It's like, what is your job? All right, you're going to sit here, and when someone's coming, you go, like people understand that. People are very easy to understand, and if it feels as if it's orderly, they don't panic, they don't rout. But when it's like, what is your job? Well, I don't know, just walk around the battlefield, find the guy, and kill him. It's like, what? What if I hit one of my friends?
It's going to be almost entirely battle, and that can get really boring really quickly.
You can watch it for a certain number of minutes before the effect starts to dampen.
Part of it was making sure that we really stayed focused on the characters, and so whether it's Arya's storyline...
Okay, so I didn't mind the fact that Arya is out there doing her own shit and killing a lot of walkers. I liked it because that's her storyline, alright? Like, even in the books, I think she's going to do the same. She was training, well, not in the TV show. In the TV show, I don't know what the fuck she was doing, but in the book, she was training for years to become a really good fighter, to embrace the Westerosi way, which is not like the hacking and slashing with the hammering that the Westerosi are doing. Sorry, the Bravos way is to pierce them, and the water comes out, and the water dancer. That's fine. I love this. Really great scene. I'm not complaining about this shit.
Or Sansa and Tyrion down the crypt, or Jon Snow and Dany up in the dragons. Kind of like all these separate little battles within the crypt.
I think with the dragons was cool. Nothing to complain there. I don't know why they didn't do it more. But yeah, it also showed just how powerful the undead were because it didn't show to have a dent in their army, even though she was like when they fought the Lannister army, the dragons just bred a little fire and the army was gone. But here, even though they constantly bred fire, there were more and more undead coming, which showed the danger of this enemy. It showed how badass the undead are because they have no limit to their numbers. They just keep coming and coming. So I really like this, by the way.
Greater battle.
Lyanna Mormont.
No, and I didn't even talk about the plot armor of Mormont. Like, all of the Dothraki go in, and then a couple come out with Mormont as well. What? How does that work?
Supposed to be a one-scene character, and then we met Bella Ramsey, and we realized that we would not be doing our jobs if we kept her as a one-scene character.
Alright, so this girl is really pissing me off. Alright, I'll tell you why. In the beginning, it was really cool. It was really cool to see this like little girl. You know, she has like this savagery backtalk to Jon, and it's believable. Yeah, you know, like in medieval society, especially after a war, you would have a child rule the entire house. For those of you who don't know, I looked at some old legislation in the United Kingdom, and it seems that at the age of 7, people could have been hanged for thievery. They considered people to grow up, to be mature at the age of 7. So it's not weird or bizarre to see children in a medieval society that are taking place of politics. And the only difference would be that these people around here should have also been very young, right? Like you should have a 14-year-old and you should have a 13-year-old. Would have been an interesting thing for the viewer to watch, and it would be historically realistic, right? Now, with this little girl, in the beginning she was cool, but then she starts giving sass to all the Northerners, and she gives sass once, and no one talks back to her, and they keep hyping her up. Like, this is the problem with social justice. They want to make a strong woman, and right here she's perfect, right? It fits the narrative. You can visualize that something like this can happen. But when they constantly lift her up, like, it can't be that one person in that entire room would be like, bitch, you're on a small island with 10 men. Can you shut the fuck up? You know, like, just put her in her place.
There wasn't a great beauty or any other kind of beauty. She was a great warrior, though. She died fighting for your brother Rob.
We knew that you can't give a big death to everybody who dies in this battle, because it which would have been too much. But there also, if she were to die, there was no way to not make a moment of it. So that's where the
so this was entirely stupid. Why was she out there? Like, it's still a lolly, a little girl. She can't have the strength to hit someone with the sword that actually hurt, right? She doesn't have a gun. This is a very progressive show. There's no guns. If she had the gun, I would understand, or maybe an arbalete or something. No, she's got like this melee weapon, and she is the lord of her house. The problem with being the lord of your house is that if you die, all morale plummets, right? Even if you manage to take a giant, really ridiculous, okay? But even if you manage to do that, literally everyone that sees you die is going to have a morale drop. And they're going to rout, and they're going to flee, or they're going to go like the Hound and try to find the dark corner to sink him.
zombie giant comes in.
And what are the cops? What are the people that are supposed to defend it? So I'm watching this.
It just did add a whole
and I'm like,
level of complexity.
Well, finally, this is like in the books. People make stupid decisions, they get stupid consequences. If you're a character that's mentally deficient in the books, you get punishment, right? This lady is mentally deficient. I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. Why would she stand there in the middle of the courtyard? You know, she's not helping anyone. She's a liability. Probably the men fighting around her are constantly having to keep an eye on her. You know, like while they're going, they have to turn their head to see, is the lady okay? Is she okay? Is she going to tell me to get up the wall? You know. And then it's like flat.
It just did add a whole level of complexity to that.
I didn't care. I genuinely did not feel anything for this character. Had she died early on, I would have cared. You know, if she died in the Battle of the Bastard, I would have maybe got a tear out of my cheek. But here it's like, what? And there was like another interesting thing with this. But we'll get to that later.
Moment that I'm sure a lot of people would have been okay with not having there.
What the fuck is this?
demanded to cut it, but I think they also understood why we...
So she charges the giant. Ah! Dude, you're the size of his shoe. Alright? The only reason she manages to kill the giant is because the giant, for some unknown reason, Deus Ex Vagina, I guess, Deus Ex Vagina, decides to pick her up. The giant hasn't picked anyone else up, but it picks her up for some reason, so that she can do
one of the
this.
strongest, smaller people in the show
let's see what she
a chance
does.
to go out taking down one of the strongest, larger things we've
Look at
ever
this.
seen in the show.
Look at this. Yeah! The only way women, not women, sorry, my bad. They're not women, they're characters. The only way female characters can look stunning and brave in the masturbatory mind of a progressive is if everyone around them acts like an idiot. Why did the giant pick her up? There is literally no reason that the giant picks... They never pick anyone up. Never. I've never seen it in the show. Wow, stunning and brave. Congratulations. And why is there only one giant, by the way? Because there should have been another thing, you know? Maybe if they had an army of 8 other girls, that it would have been an even battle. Alright, so I guess at this point I should feel some tension for Arya. I didn't feel a thing, because she's Arya, alright? This woman has thicker plot armor than Naruto. Like, there is no way she's ever going to be in any danger. If she managed to get stabbed in the belly, jump in the gutter, and survived, nothing can happen to this woman. So there's no tension. I don't care. I genuinely was watching this and I'm like, well, whatever, you know, yeah, okay. If it was Tyrion, yeah, maybe I would have cared. But here's the thing, in this show, there are some characters that will not die. Maybe in the last episode or something, but I doubt it. Okay, so Arya Stark, Daenerys, Sansa Stark, Podrick. I know it sounds weird, but Podrick, because he's a sex god, apparently, I read in BuzzFeed. Like, he's got a lot of female fans. And maybe Jon Snow. No, Jon Snow probably because he needs to marry Daenerys and be happily ever after. And do the thing that George R.R. Martin said he never wants to do. He doesn't want to have good guys fighting bad guys, and he doesn't want to have predictable endings. And we're going to have good guys fighting bad guys, and we're going to have predictable endings.
Any situation where people
No, Davos can die, by the way. If Davos was here, I would have been like, whoa, holy shit.
fighting, Arya needs to play a central role because she's one of the best at it, and she's one of the most fun to watch doing it.
I know.
Even for Arya, she
She
can't
needs a
take
Dragon
on
Ball
a
moment.
horde of
Honestly, like
whites
this is
by
what they need
herself.
to give her. They need to give her a Dragon Ball Z moment where someone throws wildfire at her, and it's like the fire is still burning, and everyone is like, and then Arya comes, you know, with the flaming stick and starts beating everyone. That's literally what she needs in order to convince me that she's actually a strong and empowered woman.
And especially when her head gets smacked, she's no longer at 100%. It's just about survival at that point.
Otherwise, she's completely unstoppable, and she never loses her cool. And
Yeah,
that's
of course she's
amazing, and
unstoppable.
it's a lot of fun to watch. But it's also it's one note, so we decided that almost rewinding the clock.
No, don't do this. Don't do this. Do not show me images on when the show was great. All right, like notice here. She actually gets her ass, you know, whipped by Joffrey, and then she comes back. Like, it shows that she can fail. It shows that she's got weaknesses. Don't show me what this could have been, please.
On who Arya Stark is.
Also, do not show me pictures of her young when I saw her tits last week. It makes me feel very uncomfortable, alright?
To back before she became the sort of magical figure that she's become would really be interesting. It would also give us a chance to change up
What
the
are the
nature
writers
of
doing? You
the
know, like
story
last
we were
week
telling.
they showed me her tits, and now it's like, oh look, she was a little kid.
We talked about Winterfell as kind of the home for the show, and one of the things that always struck us as a horrific aspect of this is that these hallways and rooms where
Alright, now, I guess the show did one thing. I don't know if it's an accomplishment, but it did put The Walking Dead to shame. And I guess it shows what a great idea would be if you'd have a medieval story setting with zombies. Might be really cool. And secondly, it shows what a missed opportunity the White Walkers were. Like, if you'd have this happen more often, you know, like if there were more settlements beyond the wall that the White Walkers were constantly taking out, and it would show like the fear and the dread to be with the White Walkers. But the reality is that I have spoke with a lot of ladies who watch the show and they don't like the White Walkers because it's scary, it's kawaii, you know, like the ladies in real world don't seem to be like Arya Stark, but I guess maybe after watching this episode, they will finally find courage to watch horror movies, right? Isn't that how it works? You see strong women on the screen and you become strong as well? I don't know, but what I'm trying to say is that most ladies who watch Game of Thrones for some reason feel a little bit afraid of the White Walkers. So my assumption is that they decided to show less of them in order to make the female fans a little bit more comfortable.
We spend a lot of good times and quiet times with characters that we care about has now become a horror set because it's been invaded by undead soldiers.
Before that point, there's sort of an agoraphobia to the whole thing where you're in this giant, wide open space.
Yeah, that's the point, it's scary, but a lot of women don't like horror movies.
Everywhere you look, there's something that could be coming to kill you. Once you get inside Winterfell, everything contracts and the
so
the
at this
walls
point, I
literally
genuinely
start
didn't
to close in
understand what the
around you,
show is
and
doing.
something
Like,
is
why are
there
you
in the dark
showing
with you,
me
but you don't know exactly
this
where it
thing
is.
with
And I
Arya
thought that
running?
the pace
Where's the main
change, and the
battle?
tonal change, it was really important
You know?
to have
Yeah,
that.
it was a real weird tonal change. Like, you could still have, like, the characters meet on the battlefield and talk with each other and do things, but this was just weird. It's like, okay, these characters are running around in Winterfell. Why are they separated from the main battle? Where is everyone else? What's going on?
In this episode, otherwise the episode would start to feel...
Oh, and another thing, I hate when they do battles during the night, because I can't see shit, you know? Unless it makes sense from a plotline perspective, it's like, oh, it's a night attack and they're sneaking in the castle. Well, why not just do the battle during the light so I can actually see the action and what the fuck is going on?
It would start to feel monotonous.
Dracarys.
We thought it was important that whatever the plan was, that it would
Yeah, I kind
not
of like
just
this
work
Dragon
out,
Ball Z
because that
moment.
would be
You know, it's
kind
like
of dull.
it shows just how
While
powerful
there's no reason
the
to
Night King
know
is,
for certain
which leads to more questions. Who the fuck is the Night King? You know, what is his ambitions? What is his goals? I'm pretty much sure we're going to find this in the next episode.
that the fire wouldn't kill or destroy the Night King. There's also no particular reason to believe that it would. And then a few moments after this happens, the Night King brings them a whole new, larger undead problem by taking all of their own.
Okay, so we're not going to have a 1v1 battle with Jon Snow. And at this point, I was just scratching my eyes out and going like, ask him questions, Jon. Ask him, why are you doing this? Why you do this? Can we make peace? What is it you want? And here's the thing, like apparently, according to the show, what he wants is to kill all the people of Westeros. Why? Why you do that? That's not what you just showed me in season 2, that there are people behind the wall that give him male babies, and in return for the sacrifice, they are left alone. Caster, right? From season 2 was doing this, and they were leaving him alone. So there was ways that you can cooperate with the Night King so that he leaves you the fuck alone. You know, like, how did the people in the past manage to defeat him? These are questions that I would have liked to be answered. Who built the ice wall? Who managed to do all of these things? But no, we don't get to talk no jutsu, you know?
Who have been killed in the course of this battle and turning them into the enemy.
Alright, so Mormont dies. I suppose it was a little bit
We
sad.
talked about various endings for Jor for a long time, but you know, you think about
To
Jor
be
from
honest,
the
he
very
has
first
to
time we
die.
met him.
Like if you look at Game of Thrones, characters that die make sense in a way. Like Mormont had to die because his plotline was over, and with him, the relationship between Dany and Snow. What is the shipping? What do they call Janny, huh? Is that what they call Janny? Without him, like, Janny would be awkward, so no, he's got to die. And the other characters that died were really small, minor characters that no one gives a fuck about. Jaime can't die because he needs to strangle Cersei according to the prophecy. Like there's a prophecy in book 1 that says Cersei is going to be strangled by her brother, and that's why she hates Tyrion, because she thought that Tyrion is going to strangle her, but obviously it's going to be Jaime. But then again, like this is the TV show, and it's fuck prophecy, fuck logical consistency, fuck good story writing. Let's just do what's cool. So, you know.
He was with Dany, and from that time he's been mostly by her side. Part of Jorah's tragedy is that he was in
Grey
love with a
Worm could have
woman
died
who
as well.
couldn't love him back, but he's accepted that for quite a long time, and at the same time he was going to
Oh my
fight
God,
for
there's
her
people in
as
the
long
chat
as he
that
could
knows, like,
and
oh.
as well as he could.
There had never been a moment where she more
Oh,
needed
but it's even in the show, I
someone
believe. Like, even
to
in the
fight
show,
to
they
protect her
say
than
that
this
she's going to
moment.
be strangled
And if
by,
he could have
there's this
chosen
episode
a
where she goes
way
to
to
the
die, this is how he would have
fortune
chosen to
teller.
die. So it was something we thought would be powerful to give him.
Oh, Dios mío. Right.
The reason the Godswood was chosen is because
So I
it's
want
such
you to
a
look
sort
at this interesting courtyard. And what we notice is that there's a tree, alright? There's a tree here. And there's nothing to climb on. Alright? Very important. There's nothing to climb on. If you're sitting next to Bran, unless you're jumping from the tree twig, if you're coming from behind, there's nothing to climb on to Assassin's Creed someone that might be behind Bran. Just pointing it out. Just throwing it out there. I hope Cersei wins. Honestly, I was rooting for the White Walkers. I was genuinely hoping that they win.
source of power for those who believe in the old gods, and for Bran in particular. So we know that the Weirwood Tree and the Three-Eyed Raven have a very deep connection. That was
Yeah,
always
again,
the
what was the Three-Eyed Raven role in all this? Like, all this build-up, all this character development for what? He sits in a chair the entire episode and flies some crows. That's what he does. What's the point? Why? Like, you just build up this entire character for season upon season upon season. We see him traveling through the snow and reaching the little tree. And now he's, hold the door. And then holding the door and I'm crying. It's like, oh my God, he's holding the door. And then it's like he's coming back. And he does what? What is the purpose of it all?
location where Bran was going to be waiting for the Night King.
I just want you to know the things I did.
Everything you did brought you where you are now. Where you belong.
You know what would have been cool? If he would have sacrificed himself. Like, you know, the night watch comes, it's like, what do you want? I want your power, Bran. It's like, oh, you take my power but leave my people alone. I will take your power, Bran, and leave your people alone. And like some shit like that. And they would have like maybe some form of really difficult peace treaty. It's like, yeah, you give me all the White Walkers so I can make them. You give me all the Wildlings, all of the Wildlings that fought with you. You give them to me, Jon Snow, and I will leave you alone. And you know, some shit like that. Ugh.
Home.
It's not like the show is entirely about people redeeming themselves and then it's all over. But if the canvas is big enough, there are spaces for those redemptive moments.
I think what was really important for Theon at the end was hearing that thank you from Bran, because Bran knows what's going to happen.
Theon.
Yeah, so Bran is a dick. Theon, spoilers, you die. Game of
You're a
Thrones
good
is a
man.
fight between gods v. I would accept that if it was elaborated in the show a little bit more, you know, but we're going to go to the gods in a little bit. Just wait for the gods, because they're coming.
Thank you.
He knows he's dead, he knows he's not going to be able to kill the Night King, but I think what's really heroic about his action is that we're all going to die, and we know we're not going to be able to defeat death at the end, but, you know, it's how you face those final moments
Yeah, I don't
that he
mind
chooses
Theon's
to
end. To
run
be
straight
honest,
at it. And
I would have found it a little bit more, I don't know, if you would have just threw down his weapon and stepped away. But I kind of get it. The guy doesn't have a dick.
I think he
Doesn't have
dies
balls.
in a way that
So, you know,
makes
there's no
us
purpose to
really
live.
proud of him
And
and,
it's like,
and the journey he's gone through.
At least the Night King has the decency to kill him himself. Right, look at this shit. Look, what the fuck? You know, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, no, get the fuck up. Where is she jumping from? Did she pussy fart in order to get to that height? Look
Journey
at
he's
it.
gone through.
Look at it, right? Just look. How on earth? No sense. He is surrounded by the undead. He is surrounded by his people. Yeah, there's white people all over. He sees through their eyes. He's like Pain from Naruto, right? So he knows she's coming. She knows she's there. When fighting Jon Snow, he's like, no, Jon Snow, I'm not going to fight you. Fight some corpses instead. And Jon Snow fights the corpses, right? And now, all of a sudden, it's like, no, I want to strangle this girl myself. Again, do you not understand? Picking little girls up is dangerous, all right? This is the mental retardation. If there is a theme in this episode, picking little girls up is a bad mistake if you're on the wrong side of history. And look at this. Look at this. Look at this shit.
I think it's probably 3 years now or something we've known that it was going to be Arya who delivers that fatal blow.
She seemed like the best candidate, provided we weren't thinking about her in that moment. One of the great things about having this many people you care about in a sequence together is that you can kind of pull people's attention and focus to people that they care about a lot, like Jon and like Dan.
How else was he supposed to kill her? With the sword in his back. I will tell you how he was supposed to kill her. There was the prophecy of the Azor Ahai. You know, this is a battle between gods, V. You don't understand. It's a battle between the gods. The god of ice and the god of fire. You know what? I agree. Didn't the god of fire say, oh yeah, the Azor Ahai, the guy who picks up the flaming sword? And there was like all of these fan theories about the Azor Ahai. And they were like, is it Jon Snow? Is Jon Snow the Azor Ahai? And we had prophecies, Dany seeing like the Iron Throne in ice. And I was genuinely thinking, yeah, maybe this is going to be cool. Like they're getting their asses whipped in Winterfell. And some survivors are going to go to King's Landing. And they're going to like make another stand there. And that's where, you know, like they're going to be forced to work with Cersei. It's going to be some really interesting story. Because this is not a story about good guys fighting bad guys. Because George R.R. Martin said the one thing he hates in fantasy is good guys fighting bad guys. But instead, we get vagina power because Arya needs to look cool. So she pussy farts, she goes boom, and flies in the air, and goes like, hey! Haha, one punch! So, you know, like you could have had Arya do her shtick. I don't mind. Like, if you want Arya to deliver the final blow, makes sense. You know, like she trained to be an assassin. Fine, you know, whatever. But then, why not have a 1v1 between Jon Snow and the Night King, right? So they're fighting, and as they're fighting, the Night King is about to deliver the final blow on Jon, and then Arya comes from behind and goes, Would have been a lot more, you know, interesting, I would say.
Dany, Theon, and Bran, not to mention Tyrion and Sansa in the crypt, so you're going all over the place with people who you're desperately worried for, and hopefully you forget about the fact.
Yeah, literally, where does she come from? From pussy magic, man. From pussy magic. Right? That's where she comes from. There's no explanation. There's no. It doesn't have to make sense. It has to look cool. And while I agree that things looking cool is nice, but they need to have a limit. There needs to have some believability to it. Fuck.
That Arya Stark ran out of that castle with the battle drums playing and going towards some purpose.
Even Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. You need a tree, you need something to climb to do the
And we don't know what until it happens.
We hope to kind of avoid the expected, and Jon Snow is always...
It's like, yeah, we hope to avoid the expected. So why is it that when I started watching this episode, I was like, Arya is going to kill the Night King? You don't understand. You think you're clever. You genuinely do. But when I know that the progressive is writing the show, there is nothing more predictable. Absolutely nothing. I think what makes the least logical sense to happen? Every single time it happens, with no exception. I was like, you know what? Jon is not going to defeat this dragon. That because it looks too cool. It would look cool to have Jon the Dragon Slayer go like Dovahkiin, I can't slide him. No, it's not. Arya kills this dragon.
Been the hero, the one
Arya
who's
kills
been
the
the
whole
savior,
army.
but it
Arya does everything.
just didn't seem right to us for this moment. We knew it had to be Valyrian steel to the exact spot where the Child of the Forest put the Dragonglass blade to create the Night King.
It's like this whole thing subvert the expectation. Look, subverting expectations means that if I have expectations of something and they don't get fulfilled, it is the definition for disappointment. Go look up the word disappointment. It's when expectations aren't fulfilled. But you know what? You can't even disappoint me anymore. I guess no. You do subvert the expectations. Because I don't have them to begin with. I don't expect anything. It's like, okay, it's a progressive movie. I need to switch my brain off, go click, and then just watch it. You know, like the people who used to watch television at the psychiatric ward. They were like, and that's how I need to be. You know, I don't need to look at character developments. I don't need to look at previous episodes to try to put some pieces together to find out what's going to be in the next episode. It's like a lot of... I actually managed to do the one thing that I shouldn't. I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm going to predict what's going to happen. They're in a crypt. Crypt has corpses. You know, maybe the Night King is going to resurrect the corpses from there. And he's going to do this, like, thing, the battle from the inside and try to open the gates to the castle. Yeah, sure. Why do that? Why even do that?
Is uncreated by the Valyrian steel. At the end of it, it's a victory for the living, but at great cost because some of our favorite characters fall along the way.
Who fell along the way that I give a shit about? Who? No one that I genuinely care. Maybe Mormont. That's it. That's the only character that I cared which fell around. They were minor characters, minor supporting characters, barely even in the show. You know, if you'd have killed Arya, yeah, I would have been pissed. If you'd have killed Dany, oh my god. Yeah, but no, you didn't do that. Oh, Theon. Who the fuck cares about Theon? I guess he has a little fans. I didn't.
We knew from the beginning, once we handed the outline in, what we were in for. The directors, Miguel Sapochnik.
I don't even have favorite characters anymore because they're not characters. They're not relatable. You know, season 1, Dany, she was being abused by her brother. She was being sold as a sex toy to the Dothraki. Man, I really cared about her. I was like, holy shit, you know, this is so fucked up. I wanted to see her brother punished. You know, Sansa Stark being punished by Joffrey. I really cared about her. Oh my god, how is she ever going to get away from this nasty situation that she's in? They were like real characters with real things that human could go through, like actual trauma that you could empathize with and say, holy shit, I would not be able to be in Sansa's shoes. I would probably kill myself. It was just that bad. But no, like in this case, meh. Yeah, okay, Arya is fighting 40 undead. And it's like, only 40? Why not the whole army? Oh, never mind, she fought the whole army. Congratulations, Arya. Wow, whoop-de-doo. There was like the part where the Night King resurrects the little girl. They resurrect the lolly Mormont. I was like, holy shit, now they're unstoppable. You know, that's literally what the Night King should have done, is to have the undead Mormont next to him as a bodyguard. Arya wouldn't stand a chance.
And defined this episode. Miguel did a tremendous amount of heroic heavy lifting on this front. He knew that if the planning wasn't there, we never would have ended up with the consistent excellence that he delivered.
Consistent
it is
excellence.
To their immense credit that not only that they
maybe it is excellence, because don't get me
but
wrong, like the show was beautiful to look, like the special effects was cool, but where was the consistency? What about the prophecy of the Azor Ahai that was supposed to happen? What is consistent about that?
That they did such a great job the whole time they were there.
It's a real testament to the entire Belfast crew who gave us something that no amount of money could ever buy.
What? What did they give you? Disappointment. Yeah, I guess no amount of money can buy disappointment. Now, I will tell you something which boggles my mind. And this is not just a Game of Thrones thing, right? This is the black pill of today's entertainment. The reason shows are this dumb, and the reason shows are made like this, is because if you go on IGN, if you go on the forums, people like it. This is what people want. The dumbing down of shows. They love it. It's like, oh my god, Team Arya. Arya is an angel. Like someone actually said this, unironically. Arya is an angel, right? So I told them, it's like, this girl killed a man, turned him into a pie, and then gave it to his father. Do you know what they replied to me when I red pill this? Huh? Do you know what the person responded to me when I said this to them on the show? When I told them that Arya is not the perfect angel? Let's see if there's anyone that actually can figure out. Come on, because it's easy to figure out. What was the response from the person who said Arya is an angel, and I told them no, she's not an angel, she's a monster. She fed the corpse of the son to the father. Let's see what come on, really no one? I misogyny, close, but not sexist, close, but not cheeseburger. Banned, that could have happened if he was a mod. It's not for you. I can't believe it. Yeah, shut up, incel. Okay, it was a variant of that. It was who hurt you? Who hurt you? I was asked who hurt me because I have accurately pointed out that John Cole, my man. He knows. Yeah, who hurt me? I don't know who hurt me because I'm watching a show and I'm looking at the characters from a objective point of view, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Arya is a little bit fucked up, and it's normal for her to fucked up. You know, she grew up without a father. That's fine, you know. But my God, and then I had like this little conversation explaining that not only is Arya a monster, but she's an idiot. So she goes through all the problems to making the pie. Like I guess she had to infiltrate the castle, assassinate the target, hide the body, chop off a piece of the person, I guess like a leg or a muscle or something, bring it to the kitchen, make the pie. All the while no one notices her, and then finally serves the pie, and when the guy finally gets the pie, right, when he finally gets the dish, he doesn't even let him taste it. Just watch the scene. It is unbelievably stupid, right? He gets the pie, puts it in front of him, wants to eat it, and Arya goes, and he goes, "Where's my sons?" And it's like, "Oh, they're in the pie, blah blah blah," or something like that. It's like, what? Right. I lost hope in humanity. I lost hope in TV shows. I am definitely black-pilled on entertainment. You know what? I'm going to subscribe to Blackpill at this point. You know, I'm generally going to go to his channel and subscribe. I hate people that are black-pilled. I genuinely do. It's like talking with the guy that only sees the bad in the world. It's like, oh well, there's no point. You shouldn't do this. You should not even try. The glass is not half empty. The glass is emptyable. You know, it's like, okay, right, I don't like these people, but I'm being pushed. I'm being pushed to be in the group of these people when I see that after waiting 8 years for the conclusion of a show, we are not told who are the White Walkers, who built the wall, what is with the Azor Ahai prophecy, what do they want, who is the Night King, how was he defeated in the past. Oh my God. My God. To be honest, I'm going to give the writers an out. Maybe this is a way for Fat Martin, for the Fat Man, for Santa Claus, for Progressive Santa to sell his books, right? So he leaves these things out of the show so people buy his fucking books. I genuinely think that the reason the books aren't released, I don't know. See, I'm not black-pilled. I'm still not black-pilled. So I'm going to tell you, I think that Martin did not release his books because he wants to see how people react to the show's ending. And if people don't like something in the show's ending, he can retcon it in the books. And maybe the books are already written, and all he needs to do is to surprise people and say, hey, by the way, I finished my books, go buy them. Unfortunately, even if that's the case, even if I have like some really high expectations that are probably going to be subverted, I'm going to say, given on how Martin is acting, given on how progressive he become, and he's become progressive because he surrounded himself with very progressive people. Like he was talking about the refugee crisis when people pointed out, look, Martin, You understand it in your books that mass immigration is wrong. You wrote about it extensively. You seem to have an understanding of what happens when you get two different cultures together, that there's social friction and whatnot. And he answers to this with, yeah, but these are real people, they're not characters. And if you don't like mass immigration, you're a bigot. And I'm like, and it's not that I give a shit about what Martin thinks about immigration or anything like that, but if he's got this new mindset, I'm really afraid of what the next books are going to be like. I think it's going to influence his writing, unfortunately. And we're going to see, you know, we're going to see if this is going to transpire in the way he writes or not. But it was disappointing nonetheless. So yeah, that's what I think about it. I don't even know if I care about the next 3 episodes. Like, I know how it's going to end. Daenerys and Jon will get married, and I don't care about anything else. Like, apparently there's winter, like, right? Winter is coming. Winter is here. And in the books, moving armies through the winter is impossible. So either they time skip 6 or 7 years when the sun is coming, or maybe they can make something interesting for once and say, wow, we killed the White Walkers. Winters don't last for 7 years anymore. This was magic that the White Walkers were pulling out of their ass. Now it's summer. I don't mind, you know. But no, they're going to march their armies through the winter. Their armies that, according to this episode, were decimated. And they're going to attack Cersei. And they're going to win, because they have dragons. And maybe one dragon is going to die, I don't know. So that's going to be episode 4. Episode 5 is going to be a little bit of a power struggle between Jon and Daenerys. You know, a little bit, maybe some secret character does some backstabbing or some shit. And then it's going to be episode 6, where finally, you know, it's the epilogue and everyone is happy and I don't know. Let me read some super chats. Wow, you guys didn't enjoy this very much, did you? Sean, $2. I hope Cersei wins, and you know, that's pretty much it. I'm sorry for not releasing a main video on my channel, but yeah, it is dinner time. I need to go eat something. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you all tomorrow on my main channel when I release something new and exciting.